Happening now as we come on the air from Eureka. First, cracking down on illegal grows.
They were scouting out public land, private land.
Why the Humboldt sheriff is calling in reinforcements. And the woman accused in the killing of a Eureka teen makes her first appearance in court. The disturbing details we're learning about the case. Also,
still approaching North Texas.
There was no wildfire, but there was a wild ride.
If they have spikes, that'd be great.
The fire truck speeding down the highway, but it wasn't for an emergency call. We'll explain. And the bizarre crash in Eureka, the ironic place it happened, and what the scene looks like now. Plus,
the EPA administrator says our nation is cleaner and stronger thanks to President Trump. I'm Angelica Alvarez in Washington with why critics disagree.
North Coast News at 11 on ABC 23 starts now.
The National Guard is here on my request.
You may have seen those helicopters hovering around Humboldt over the last 24 hours, and new tonight, we now know why. Thank you for being here. I'm Nazi Javid, leading us off tonight. The Humboldt County Sheriff cracking down on illicit marijuana grows, and the law enforcement agency bringing in reinforcements to help do it. Humboldt County Sheriff William Hansel saying his office has gotten a lot of questions and concerns regarding its partnership with the California National Guard. Sheriff Hansel taking the time today to answer those concerns and explain what the community should expect this summer when it comes to commercial cannabis law enforcement.
And they are working with us to assist us with the illicit marijuana industry that has been a problem here in Humboldt County for years. So the helicopter that was being flown had my deputy sheriffs on it, and they were scouting out public land, private land, illegal marijuana grows. The National Guard has been requested, and it is approved by the Governor's Office and our Cal National Guard to assist us with these type of operations. And I want to assure people that they are working for me, and they're at my direction, and we are working together to try and bring the illicit cannabis industry into compliance with the state law.
And if you'd like to watch the entire statement from the sheriff, just go to the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Legislation requiring certain political candidates to release their tax returns in order to appear on California ballots took one step closer to becoming law today. The bill passed the state assembly today with a 57-17 vote. It requires presidential and gubernatorial candidates to release the last 5 years of their tax returns to be included on ballots in California. Those returns will then be made available to the public. In May, North State Senator Mike McGuire was involved in amending the bill to extend to California's governorship. SB 27 will be heard in the state Senate again this week, and if approved, will be sent to Governor Newsom's desk for his signature. Prior to President Trump, every president since Jimmy Carter, who took office in 1977, has released at least 1 year of their tax returns. New developments tonight in the battle over adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census. The Justice Department was hoping to bring on a new legal team to handle the case, but a federal judge just nixed that plan. The New York judge says the Justice Department just didn't have a good reason to swap legal teams, saying it would just slow down the process. The government already started printing census forms without the citizenship question. Some say it's a surprising ruling, considering changing legal teams in civil cases is almost always allowed. President Trump is still considering an executive order to force the citizenship question on the census. It was a packed courtroom today as loved ones listened to the new disturbing details in the brutal killing of a Eureka teen. We go now to those new developments out of Humboldt County Court. The suspect in that torture homicide case appearing before a judge today for the first time. We were in the courtroom and the district attorney's office sharing some pretty disturbing details in the complaint. 40-year-old Daniela Moore is charged with felony murder in that homicide that took place on July 4th on Hillficker Lane in Eureka. Today, the suspect pleaded not guilty to all charges in the killing of 19-year-old victim Hannah Hayhurst. We were granted access only to take photos of the suspect in court today. The DA's complaint alleging that Moore committed torture, saying that she had, quote, intent to cause cruel and extreme pain and suffering for the purpose of revenge, extortion, persuasion, and for a sadistic purpose, end quote. The DA further alleging that the suspect used shears in that brutal killing. The judge granting no bail for Moore, who's expected to be back in court for her preliminary hearing on August 23rd. A family in California demanding answers in the case of Hannah Lynn Williams, a 17-year-old girl killed in a police shooting Friday in Anaheim. Authorities say it happened after the teenager's vehicle collided with an off-duty police officer's SUV. He was in a marked vehicle and in uniform. A possible handgun was found at the scene, but authorities said it turned out to be a replica, a fake gun. Police haven't released much information on the shooting. Williams' family says they're not satisfied with the communication they've been getting from authorities. They are heartbroken and they're demanding answers.
Hannah was a beloved daughter, sister, niece, granddaughter, friend. She had her whole life ahead of her. And we are seeking answers as to truly what occurred on that day and night in question.
The family wants the officer involved in the shooting put on unpaid leave until the investigation is over. They also want California Governor Gavin Newsom to order the state's Attorney General to open a civil rights investigation. Moving now to the latest developments on that desperate search for a missing man in Mendocino County. Investigators with the sheriff's office say tomorrow morning the Sonoma County Water Agency will scale back water releases into Mendocino Lake. They hope this might bring them closer to finding 40-year-old Vincent Soto, who's been missing since June 11th. Investigators say his father's body was found floating in the lake after the two went on a fishing trip. The process is expected to take several hours tomorrow morning. After the search, water will be ramped back up to normal by tomorrow evening. Prospective parents face a nightmare. A New York couple is suing a California fertility clinic after a woman gave birth to babies that were not hers. A federal lawsuit filed last week. The mother, who's Asian, gave birth to two non-Asian babies, and each child was a genetic match to a different couple that was also a client at Child Fertility based out of Los Angeles. The Asian couple was then forced to give up the babies to their true genetic parents. The couple was married in 2012. The lawsuit states after having trouble conceiving a child, they decided to try and have a child through IVF with Child Fertility, spending $100,000 on the IVF procedures, travel expenses, and other costs. The couple still does not know what happened to their two embryos that were supposed to be transferred. Child Fertility has not commented. California Governor Gavin Newsom toured a Sacramento medical clinic today, highlighting what he says is California's national leadership in the fight to make health care affordable for all. Newsom says he wants to lower prescription drug and health care costs for all California families. This at a time when he says the Affordable Care Act is under attack in Washington. Part of the governor's budget proposal will invest $1.45 billion over 3 years to increase covered California health insurance premium support for low-income Californians.
We have sick care for everybody. We believe in health care, and we have made another incremental step towards that vision, getting it to everybody up to the age of 26, regardless of immigration status.
The governor says he also wants to expand Medi-Cal coverage to all income-eligible undocumented young adults ages 19 through 25. The Trump administration is defending its efforts to improve the environment. Tonight, we're digging deeper into the president's efforts as national correspondent Angelica Alvarez sits down with the head of the EPA.
The air continues to get clean. The water continues to get clean under President Trump's watch.
We sat down with EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler to hash out what President Trump calls his administration's high notes on the environment.
My administration has made it a top priority to ensure that America is among the very cleanest air and cleanest water on the planet.
Some highlights he points to include the cleanup of 22 Superfund sites in 1 year. Since the 70s, air pollutants are down 74%, and now 93% of water systems meet EPA standards. Wheeler notes the last two actually build on efforts from past administrations, but says the president is doing his part on air and water.
And working with the local governments, working with the states in addressing their pollution. We work with communities all across the country, providing new grant money, new loans to help update our aging infrastructure and ensure that Americans will have clean water.
Democrats on Capitol Hill say they're not buying it.
This is a president who has never been tethered to the truth.
And neither do some environmental advocates. Elizabeth Gore with the Environmental Defense Fund is one of them.
Tens of millions of people are still drinking unsafe drinking water. Carbon emissions are going up. The air is getting dirtier. There's a 20% increase in unhealthy days for air quality in 2017 compared to 2016.
And she points to a report from an independent research company that shows emissions went up last year by 3.4%. Gore describes the decisions the president is making now as quick fixes, not for the long term. The EPA standing firm in its findings and in its future plans. It's also looking forward to what it believes will be more positive news in its annual air trends report. That's due out next week. Reporting in Washington, I'm Angelica Alvarez.
A California man pleaded guilty to a federal charge Monday after admitting to stealing a critically endangered lemur last year. The lemur, named Isaac, was 32 at the time, making it North America's oldest living ring-tailed lemur in captivity. The Department of Justice says 19-year-old Akinas Kasbar wanted to keep Isaac as a pet. Kasbar admitted he broke into the Santa Ana Zoo after hours and took the animal. The next day, he put Isaac in an unventilated drawer and abandoned him in front of a hotel with notes explaining that Isaac should be taken to authorities. Isaac was returned unharmed to the zoo. Kasbar faces a maximum sentence of a year behind bars and a $100,000 fine for the misdemeanor count of unlawfully taking an endangered species. He's sentenced to be, his sentencing hearing is set for October. Coming up on North Coast News, the fire truck speeding down the highway through multiple counties, but it wasn't for an emergency call. We'll explain. And the bizarre crash in Eureka, the ironic place it happened, and what the scene looks like now. Plus, we felt some drizzles today here in Humboldt. Does that mean rain is on the way? Who knows? We're going to find out. Our first solar meteorologist, Jessica Birch, will be meeting us in the Weather Center with our full weather forecast in just a bit. The time is 11:11. Make a wish. You're watching North Coast News.
If you like to hunt or fish, you need to know about Grunman's Sporting Goods. Grunman's has the hot new bows from Matthews, Hoyt, and PSE. Used bows.